Hi there and welcome to the Daily Arsenal News Show. Let's dive into today's top stories. Pundit says £30 million Arsenal player will be crucial in the second leg versus Porto. Speaking on the Handbrake Off Podcast, Adrian Clarke has been discussing how Arsenal can get back on track in Europe, and he says that the return of Zinchenko in the next game could make a big difference. Clarke spoke about the £30 million man's return and said the following: I think they will come up with a way, keep that tempo high, make it a flowing game. I think Zini will make a difference if he is fit and available. Party maybe they shut off the middle of the pitch, and we have to be better in that regard in this game. Zinchenko may not be one of Arsenal's biggest name players, but he is so important to the way the Gunners want to play. His ability to invert from fullback make him so important as Arsenal look to overload the middle of the park, and that's where they struggle to get any joy against Porto in the first game. Fingers crossed Zinchenko will be back for the second leg, because if he does return, he should be able to make a real difference to this team and hopefully the result. Ian Wright says 24-year-old Arsenal players' defending isn't appreciated enough. Kai Havertz is one of the most divisive players in the Premier League. The German is really highly rated by some, while others will tell you that he is absolutely useless. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but it's clear to see which side of the argument Ian Wright lands on. Indeed, speaking on the Wright's House podcast, the Pundit has been full of praise for Havertz, claiming that not only is he a great attacking presence, he says that his defensive ability is also underrated, claiming that he often makes crucial interceptions and wins the ball back for Arsenal. Wright shared his verdict on the 24-year-old. He said the following: I think that I like the fact that Kai Havertz gives us something on the back stick. He does crash the box. What is underrated? What he does is that he intercepts the ball and he wins the ball back a lot for us. You want to see more on the ball, passing through and stuff like that, but Kai is not the massive problem people are making him out to be. Havertz's defensive output is underrated at times, and perhaps that's because he's often viewed as a more attacking player. When Havertz first came through at Bayer Leverkusen, one of the main parts of his game was scoring goals, hence why he is often played up front for Arsenal and Chelsea. However, goals aren't the name of the game for Havertz these days, and as Wright says, he does often win the ball back for Arsenal and make key defensive contributions. Whether or not you think Havertz is any good or not, it has to be said that he is one of the most misunderstood players in the Premier League right now. Ian Wright says £6 million Arsenal player didn't look right against Porto. Arsenal lost against Porto on Wednesday evening to continue their poor Champions League knockout record. The Gunners have now lost 5 rounds of 16 games in a row in this competition. The North London club just didn't look on their game against Porto, and one player in particular who wasn't at his best was Gabriel Martinelli. The Brazilian really struggled to make anything happen, and speaking on the Wright's House podcast, Ian Wright has noted that the winger looked very clunky on the day. Wright spoke about the £6 million winger. He said the following: The thing is, I love Martinelli, but with that job he was given, I think he should have been more aggressive in the wide areas. The thing is, he was very clunky with it. He didn't seem to have it under control with what he was doing for me. The same thing with us trying to progress from the back. If there is any word you wouldn't usually use to describe Gabriel Martinelli, it's clunky. The Brazilian is one of the most elegant and controlled players in the Premier League usually, but for some reason, against Porto, he looked way off the pace. Whether it was the pressure that got to him or something else is unclear, but Martinelli really didn't have his best game against Porto, and he will have to improve in the second leg if Arsenal are to progress to the quarter-finals. Martinelli really didn't look himself against Porto, that's for sure. Mikel Arteta says Arsenal have a midfielder who can become incredible. Mikel Arteta has been full of praise for Declan Rice. Speaking to TNT Sports, Arteta has been discussing some of his best and most important moments at Arsenal, and inevitably, he was asked about the £105 million signing of Rice this summer. Arteta says that he sees Rice as the lighthouse of the team, guiding his teammates through crucial and important moments. The manager says that Rice is a young player who still has a lot to learn, but he believes that he has the right foundations in place to go on and become an incredible player for Arsenal. Arteta spoke about the midfielder. He said the following: "If I had to describe him in a picture, it would be a lighthouse. This is how I see him. That's it. He is overlooking everything, bringing light, clarity, and guidance to everybody. That's his biggest quality. He is a leadership. He is still very young, with a lot to learn, but he has the right foundations to become an incredible player for us." Arteta is right. Rice can be an incredible player for Arsenal, and he is already well on his way to carving out a truly brilliant legacy in North London. The midfielder has barely put a foot wrong since joining the Gunners this summer, and with Arsenal well and truly in the title race, his debut season could yet be one to remember. Of course, Rice does have a lot to learn. He was rather naive this week in the Champions League when he picked up an early yellow card. But as the gaffer says, the foundations are there for Rice to kick on and become a true star for Arsenal in years to come. Newcastle are the most likely club to make summer move to sign £30 million Arsenal player. Newcastle are keen to sign Aaron Ramsdale from Arsenal this summer, with the Magpies considered to be the club most likely to submit a bid. That's according to Sports Lens. So what is the situation involving Newcastle and Arsenal number one Aaron Ramsdale? Let's take a look. Well, according to Sports Lens, Newcastle are intrigued by the England international situation at the Emirates Stadium and see him as a potential number one for the long term. Ramsdale, who Arsenal signed from Sheffield United for £30 million in August 2021, has been replaced by David Raya this season, despite a couple of solid campaigns at the Emirates Stadium. The 25-year-old has made just 5 starts in the Premier League this season, compared to the Spaniards' 20 Premier League starts. Eddie Howe already has a number one at Newcastle in Nick Pope. Although the England international has struggled with injuries so far this season, and Martin Dubravka has failed to take his opportunity convincingly. Therefore, the Magpies are looking at Ramsdale, who is expected to hold talks with Mikel Arteta about his future this summer. In our view, this is a difficult decision for the Gunners. On one hand, you can argue that it would be unfair of Arteta to keep a talented young goalkeeper as a mere backup option, especially one who has aspirations of becoming a regular for England. However, many top sides have two quality goalkeeping options nowadays, and Arsenal certainly wouldn't want to hand Ramsdale, a direct rival in Newcastle. The Magpies finished just 2 places behind the Gunners last season. Ultimately, we feel Arteta should let the decision come down to Ramsdale. Mikel Arteta hints world-class Arsenal player won't be back versus Newcastle. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has admitted that Takahiro Tomiyasu still needs more time before he can return to action. The Gunners boss, speaking at Friday's pre-match presser ahead of the Newcastle clash, said that the defender isn't quite there yet. Tomiyasu has been on the sidelines with a calf injury and is yet to play for Arsenal this year, having also been away on Asian Cup duty. On Friday, Arteta did suggest that a number of injured players could be in contention to return to action in today night's meeting with Newcastle. Thomas Partey is apparently really close to a return, while Gabriel Jesus has done a few things and Zinchenko is not far either. However, on the subject of the Japan international, the Arsenal boss said, as per Football London, Tomiyasu still a little bit more. It's a shame to hear that Tomiyasu doesn't seem to be available just yet. The 25-year-old is a quality player and a key member of the Arsenal squad. At the same time, Arsenal aren't missing him quite as much as they might have done in the past, thanks to Jakub Kiwior's upturn in form on the left. And with Zinchenko closing in on a return to action, Arteta can afford to take a little more time with Tomiyasu's fitness. With the season now heading towards the business end, it will be good to see the world-class defender return to action fully fit and hopefully help Arsenal achieve glory this term. Arsenal could land very dangerous £6 million Premier League star as Pedro Neto alternative. Wolves star Pedro Neto continues to be a player who gets mentioned as someone Arsenal would love to sign. However, with a reported £80 million price tag, Arsenal might need to look elsewhere, and one man who could be a shrewd signing for them is a Brighton winger Simon Adingra. Just as they seem to do every year, Brighton look like they have hit the jackpot by signing Ivorian winger Adingra. The Siglus paid just £6 million to sign the 22-year-old back in 2022, and much like they did with Alexis McAllister and Moses Caicedo, it looks like Brighton will be able to turn a huge profit on him. For Arsenal, it's going to be imperative as they continue to build that they have players who can step in for the likes of Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. At the moment, Leandro Trossard does a good job of that, but beyond that, there is little in the way of quality depth for the Gunners. Adingra then could be the ideal signing. Sure, the Gunners might well need to shell out a decent fee, but it would surely be less than the £80 million being demanded for Neto. Previously, Arsenal have looked at another Brighton star, Karu Mitoma, but Adingra, being 4 years younger, could just have that little bit more value longer term. Lauded by Danny Welbeck as being very dangerous players for the Siglus, both Adingra and Mitoma are quality operators out wide, but it's Adingra, fresh from his AFCON win with Ivory Coast and blitzing Sheffield United last week, and who could well be the ideal man to come to the Emirates and form a two-man band with Saka. Arsenal are now at the front of the queue for outstanding £33 million relegation threatened player. Ivan Toney is thought to be the main target for Arsenal as they head into the summer. However, midfielders could also be the order of the day to help out Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard, and according to Dean Jones, writing for Give Me Sport, Everton midfielder Amad Onana could be one to watch out for. According to Jones, Onana is expected to leave Everton even if they stay up this season, and it's Arsenal who are considered the club monitoring him the closest as it stands. Jones said the following: "The 10-point deduction is still hurting this team, and the most likely high-profile exit of the summer are Jared Brandthwaite and Amad Onana. Those two are expected to leave Goodison Park, even if Everton beat the drop, with Man United on Brandthwaite's case and Arsenal tracking Onana closest right now. Everton paid around £33 million for Onana back in the summer of 2022. The Belgian has impressed and could well end up with a number of clubs keen on him come the summer. Regarded as an outstanding midfield talent, Everton will be hoping to fetch more than they paid for Onana if they do have to sell. There is a reality at Arsenal that they will need a new midfielder or two in the coming windows. Jorginho isn't getting any younger, and Thomas Partey remains riddled with injury. A player like Amad Onana would slot in nicely with Arsenal. In a struggling Everton side, he has managed to show himself to be a decent player, and a step up isn't out of the question. Arsenal then are right to pursue the Belgian, and if Everton do go down, they might just get him that little bit cheaper. As we wrap up today's Arsenal news, remember to stay tuned for daily updates right here on the channel. Don't miss out on the latest updates, so make sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like if you found this information valuable. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.